Hello, everybody. We are glad you are back for the National Moral Monday March on McConnell to challenge his mayhem, his misery, and his madness that he's creating throughout public policy in this country and has been doing it for years. Y'all get the hype with the mask, vote. That's it right there, vote. We're wearing them, everything we're doing, we're trying to push it out there. We have to be engaged and vote. I'm gonna take it off so you can hear me, but I wanted to start with it. So if you can get one wherever you go, just put it on, vote, put it on so people will know what season we're in. Now, as we talk about McConnell, and we have talked about him for the last 3 weeks, we've had anywhere in excess of well over 5,600,000 people to join us on these Mondays because folk get it, you get it. And we want you to tell everybody you know right now, tweet them, text them. If you got a tin can with a string in it, stretch it out and call them. However you communicate with people, smoke signals, whatever you do, we want you to call them to get on this platform today, the National Moral Monday March on McConnell, his mayhem, his meanness, and his misery. Can you all hear me well? Somebody check me because I'm getting a lot of static. Okay, great. So we want you to be able to do that. This is being sponsored by the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, and the two sponsoring organizations, Kairos Center at Union Theological Seminary, where my co-chair and friend and sister is Reverend Dr. Liz Theoharis, and also Repairers of the Breach, where I'm the president and senior lecturer. We know that McConnell and Trump are two peas in a bucket. They're two peas in a pot. That's from down south. All of y'all that are from northern places that are on, you need to get that. Two peas in a pot. That means you can't tell one from the other. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Two peas in a pot. Two peas in a pot. We also know that McConnell wants to suppress the vote. He wants to stop. He wants to he wants to sabotage the post office, and he wants to stop the stimulus. He never had an intention of doing a real stimulus and to really help people because he told us up front, even with 30 million people unemployed, 27 million people without health care, millions of people facing eviction, he said what he wanted. Money for a new airplane that the Pentagon didn't ask for, more tax cuts for his greedy, wealthy friends, and he wanted protections, liability protection. Somebody said that once people show you who they are, you ought to believe them. Don't expect something different. He told us right up front. He said it on TV and everywhere else he could say it. And so we need to be clear. We need to be clear. McConnell and Trump are two peas in a pot. Two peas in a pot. We also know that we're dealing with two political gangsters. Two political gangsters. Because what do political gangsters want to do? They want everything to be about them. They want to be everything to be about their few people, and all they care about is their money and their power. One just happens to have KY on the state he's from. The other one happens to have NY on the state he's from. But it don't make any difference. It's two political gangsters. And this live stream is about not allowing one to escape from criticism and from exposure. McConnell, we are National Moral Monday March on McConnell's mayhem, misery, and means. And this is an action. This is not just fussing. We need you to get on those phones. You see it at the bottom of the screen. We need you to call in. The last 3, we've shut down everything in his office, and that's what we're doing. We want to spread the truth. That's one reason we're here. We want to show what is really going on. We want to shut down McConnell's offices in terms of the telephones and let them know we're here. And we want to stir up people to be engaged and to vote. Now, because we're nonpartisan, let me give a little shout out to the Democrats because Lord help you. Sometimes I just wonder about you all, Democrats. Stop saying, I heard my dear friend this morning, Pelosi, saying, we need this HEROES Act. We need a bill because we need to give more money to the middle class. No, not just the middle class. Stop saying that. The majority of the people that are essential workers are not middle class. They're poor and low wealth people. Can't you say our name? Come on, dear. Now, you know, we get on McConnell, but I just had to take a pause there. Can't you at least call the name of poor and middle class people in Kentucky and all over this country that McConnell is hurting? If the only reason we're giving the stimulus is just for middle class folk, then what's the point? What's the point in a country where 140 million plus people are living in poverty and low wealth? What's the point of all the people that are working, that are essential workers, that they don't have the essentials they need. And so we have, just to pause a second, I know y'all get excited when we criticize McConnell, and we will do that. But you know, I come from a tradition where you even push your families. You know, if you're gonna be a great champion, you need a bad sparring partner. And you need a sparring partner that won't back up on you. And I see my friend Mary Kay, and I know she's a serious sparring partner. She'd stay right there at it. And I'm gonna introduce her in it. So you gotta be clear. You get in the ring with the Poor People's Campaign, we're gonna make you better. Ain't that right, Liz? You get in the ring with us, we're not gonna back up, we're gonna make you better. We're gonna get you so you can fight the real enemy, but you gotta understand this language you all are using is killing us. Stop it. At least say middle class and poor and low wealth people, but don't just say one or the other, because we got to expand this electorate. And we've already been told time and time again, the expansion is with poor and low wealth people. If you expand the electorate, you don't have to worry about battleground states and which one. You can, 15 states can change, presidential elections can change, the numbers can change. 1% to 19% of poor and low wealth people, mostly working poor and low wealth people. Stop talking about acting like working people aren't poor people. That's the problem. Too many people are working and are poor and low income. Come on, y'all. We got to come together. I got a friend of him I'm going to introduce in a minute, and he's one of the McCoys, and he's together with the Hatfields. God knows that the McCoys and the Hatfields can get together up in the hills of Kentucky. Surely, Democrats, y'all can talk about the middle class and poor people and low income people all together, but I digress. Let's get to McConnell. We are going to show what he's doing. We're spreading the word. We're going to shut down his office today, stir up the people to engagement and to vote. And so I wanted to say that openly. Now, we need everybody to know, if for any reason this site shuts down, you put this down and say, if there's a glitch, if there's a shutdown, if anything happens, you don't have to do anything, baby, but stay right here and refresh. That's what they just told me. All you got to do is refresh. Like remix, you know, back in the day when we used to remix, I told y'all every Monday I'm doing my little DJ thing. Don't y'all think I've lost my mind? I used to do this when I was young. But the deal is you remix, you know, you remix, right? You remix. So all you got to do is refresh, you know, just refresh. Don't go anywhere. Don't run. Don't quit. Don't say, oh, gosh, I can't go back. That's not the kind of time we're in. Because if you can't refresh for us, how you gonna fight the constant wave of Trumpism and McConnellism? In this fight, you gotta be willing to stay in it. And if you get a little glitch in the system, you come right back. You know, this is not the time for bougie activism. This is the time for the real thing. Real thing. We stay at it. We fight at it. We don't quit. We don't give up. We don't turn around. We don't stop talking. We don't run away. You try to take my vote, I'll put on every glove I've got, put on my mask. You create the lines long. I'll get me a lounge chair and a glass of tea and a fried chicken sandwich, and I'll sit down in the line and I'll move it once every time I can until I vote. But you're not gonna have this democracy without a fight. That's the point. And so if you get a little glitch today, if something happens, just do the refresh move. Everybody on the line, just shake your shoulders, say, do the refresh move. Come on, y'all, do the refresh. Yeah, do the refresh. It's a new dance track. Do the refresh. There you go, Casimir. Do the reset. Lord, Rob, you ain't got no rhythm at all. Y'all help Rob. Y'all see him up there in the right-hand corner. He can't do it, but do the refresh.
Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on. I tell you, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on. And we won't be silent anymore. Oh, somebody's hurting my sister,
Day cried power. Martin cried power. Megha cried power. Mary Kay cried power. And Liz, right now, we need you to cry power, because we have the power to shut his office down. We got power to change this narrative. We got power at the ballot box. This is not a movement of begging. This is a movement that has power. Drop it if you would, Reverend Liz, you're on.
All right, well, it's with everybody on this Moral Monday march against McConnell. We want y'all to be making those calls. If you go to the website, to the bit.ly link, you will be directed immediately to a call, and they'll make the call for you. Please make those calls. Keep on making them till you get through. And also, please make sure you put in the chat what you're saying to McConnell, what message you have for McConnell today. And indeed, we are crying power. Thank you so much, Reverend Barber, because this is a powerful song, right? We think about this question of power, and I think about that quote from Frederick Douglass, that power concedes nothing without a demand. Well, we in the Poor People's Campaign are demanding. We're demanding a full, just relief package. We're demanding to protect our postal service. We're demanding to protect essential workers. We're demanding to insure the uninsured. We're demanding that we need living wages and voting rights and all of the bounty of this country. What's going on in our country today reminds me of a quote from the Bible. Often it does. We have all across the Bible stories of prophetic leaders rising up, poor and impacted prophetic leaders rising up and saying, this is not just, this is not so. And so I think about Isaiah 3. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and the leaders of his people. It is you who have ruined my vineyard. The plunder from the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor, declares the Lord Almighty. And I just think this is a message for McConnell. This is a message for Trump. This is a message for the so-called leaders of our nation who have been grinding the face of the poor, who have been not expanding healthcare in the greatest public health crisis in a century, who have been not expanding unemployment, despite the fact that we have more than 55 million people who have applied for unemployment over the past couple of months, who are not expanding healthcare, despite the fact that we have more than 100 million people who don't have healthcare or adequate healthcare, again, in this moment. And this is not right. This is not just. And so we need you all to call. We need you to get involved, to join the Poor People's Campaign, to join it in your states, and to flood those lines. Make sure McConnell hears us in this. And he doesn't get away with this misery anymore. He doesn't get away with this meanness anymore and this mayhem that is being caused and on the backs and crushing the faces of the poor. And so this has to stop. We have the power to do it. We're going to get out and vote. We're going to get out and organize. We're going to get out and do more. We're going to mobilize and organize and register and educate people. And we're going to be here on Mondays, Moral Mondays, marching against McConnell. And we need you all to keep on joining us. So thanks for being here. And we have a lot more people to hear from. Let's build power. Let's cry power. And let's bring our demands forward, because we have them, and they're full and they're mighty and they're bold and they're realizable in our lifetimes.
That's right. You're exactly right, Liz. They're realizable. They've been realizable. It's just a matter of, we've heard time and time again, we've had everything we needed except the moral will. Well, this movement and all of our coalition partners, 43 state coordinating committees, now over 200 partners, building from the bottom up, have power. We cry power. Yes, we are woke, but we also are rising. You got to get out of bed. You got to get out of apathy. Sometimes you have to get out of even just saying what the power of the other side. Jackson, I'm going to talk to you later, taught me that years ago, I'm not saying that you're older, Jackson, but was years ago. And he used to come in rooms and people we saw saying, well, they're doing this and they're doing this. And Reverend would come in the room and say, no, but what can we do? What power do we have? And we have all this power of all of the votes and the power of poor people. And we can bring that coalition, and we are bringing that coalition together of Black people and poor white people and poor brown people and Latinos and Asian and gay and union leaders and moral leaders. And this coalition can reshape, can cause a reconstruction of our society. But it won't happen if we just isolate the problem with one person. And so, yes, we know what Trump is doing, but we can't let it stop there. We have to show what McConnell is doing. We have to spread the truth. We have to shut down his office. You know, if it wasn't for COVID, we'd be in the street, in his offices, but we shut down the offices, and then we've got to stir up the people so they not only see what's being done to them, but see the power that they have not to take it. You know, I was reminded, Liz, as just talking about that, of when the children of Israel were sent over to the promised land. 12 went over. 10 of them saw all of the possibilities, all the promises, all of the wealth, all of that. But they said, but we're just little grasshoppers and they're so big. But 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua, said, no. We're not grasshoppers in the face of giants. Do you know where we've come from? Do you know what our history is? Do you know that every time we've stood up and fought and organized, we've won? And so what we have to do now is go in with the power that God has given us. And that's why we have this National Moral Monday on McConnell, may him meanness and misery, and to challenge it. And so at this time, we got some friends. Now, I want y'all to know around the nation, this is being led by the people from Kentucky. You know, they told us early on, Pam and Tana, they said, you can't go to Kentucky. Said, you can't go up into parts of Kentucky. I was even told one time when we said we were going up into Harlan County, Kentucky, the guy looked at me and said, are you crazy? I said, well, probably. When it comes to justice and stand up for what's right, you can't go up there. Everybody up there votes for Trump. I said, no, they don't. And he said, yes, they do. This says that. I said, that's only talking about the people who voted. But there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who don't even vote. I said, you don't know the history. That's the land of Justice Harlan, who stood up against the Deconstructionists in the 1800s. Was the only Supreme Court justice that voted against Plessy versus Ferguson. That's the land of Justice Harlan. That's the land of Ann Breeden. That's the land up there in those hills where the war on poverty began. Harlan County. We're going. And when we got up there, Tanya, where's Tanya on? You on? And Pam, I'm gonna come back at you before we get off this, but that are our co-chairs. But I want to talk to my man, Mickey. I never will forget the day that Nina and Mickey, I met Mickey, and Mickey was clear. We've been played against each other. You know, they pit Black folk and white people against each other. And when he told me he was a McCoy, my first answer, for real? You really a McCoy? You know, I knew a little bit about their history. But this brother and him and Nina, they are serious. They live in Inez, Kentucky, a county that is 40% underneath the federal poverty level. That's why Democrats, you can't just be talking about middle class. And so they have some of the highest cancer rates in the nation. They've been fighting for environmental justice up there in the mountains. They've been fighting against mountaintop removal. They're dependent on the Postal Service. They are big supporters of the movement, and they know that we have to tackle racism and poverty together. And they're clear that we cannot let anybody suppress our votes. And they're also clear that we do need a just stimulus package. We should have passed it all at one time instead of giving the corporations $3 trillion and giving the people just a little trinket. But Nina and Mickey, talk to the nation about why you need them to call McConnell, why you need them to be engaged, why you need them to register to vote. We can't endorse a candidate, but why you need to endorse activism and why you're a part of the Poor People's Campaign.
The first thing, come on.
Yes, you're.
First thing I'd like to say, Reverend, is that it goes back to an old history lesson I learned in high school, something called taxation without representation. Mm-hmm. And that's what Kentucky has right now. No representation. We have a senator named McConnell, but he does not represent us. He does not represent the poor people of Kentucky. He comes to Martin County maybe twice a year to get money. He goes to 2 different houses and they call all their lap puppies to their quarters and give them money. He will not go out and see the real people, the hurting people. He doesn't want to see that. He wants to, it's like he's got blinders on. And in fact, to use an example, the coal miners were going through an awful bout with black lung and their black lung benefits. He wouldn't come to Kentucky to talk to them. Oh, he'd been invited, but he wouldn't come. So they went to him. A whole busload from southeastern Kentucky went up to McConnell's office. He knew they were coming, and he spent like a minute and 30 seconds talking to him and then said he's busy. But they got nothing from him at that time. You see, you got to look at everybody.
That's right.
And maybe there's a lot more like him, but we don't have representation if we have McConnell.
That's right.
We're also,
go ahead, Nina.
Also the land of where they had company towns, and I don't know if you've heard of that. They have to go to the company store. All that really is back.
Explain that a little bit. People need to know that from around the country.
Before the unions won their war and we were able to get representation for the miners, the company owned the town and the store,
and so paid them a script.
You worked for the company and you got paid with company money, and you had to go to the company store. Well, that's kind of what they're trying to go back to here. They're calling them the job creators. And so we have to give them tax breaks because they're the job creators. No, they're not. We're the workers. We're the ones that need the tax break because we work for them. They'll cut your job anytime they can. But we're the workers, and we need to demand that the poor people and the working people get what's right in this country. They shouldn't be able to have a company in this, a corporation in this country, unless they can stand on their own 2 feet. They don't need a tax loophole.
And a bailout after bailout after bailout.
And we need our post office.
Yeah, we need our post office. People depend on the post office. It's one of the federal houses that the people believe in because they've come to trust the post office.
That's right.
And man, you it's all been done politically, Reverend. It's all just a big party to some of them, but they don't want to see the votes. They don't want the people to come out and vote. They don't want the people to mail in their ballots. They don't want to get them on time. It's all a part of what they call their master plan.
That's right. And Mickey, it's interesting, Mickey and Nina, I remember when I was in Kentucky with you and Tana, and we went to the State House and we were all together, and I watched the eyes of at that time, the people that the governor sent out to stop us, and it was like they were confused because why are these black people from Louisville hooked up with these white people from Martin County and from that is the real thing they fear. You can see it in the eyes. It's confusing to them. Yeah. And I remember when we came up and we had that meeting, and Liz, you remember we met with the coal miners and they told us that McConnell had been a part of the efforts to undermine the coal miners by allowing these multinational companies to take over the coal mine without having to grandfather their union rights in, right? And so, and we had long conversations. I didn't know all of that history, and most of the nation doesn't know that history. And so I'm telling you all that the people from Kentucky are telling you all today that McConnell's mayhem, misery, and meanness is hurting them. Now, if he will not even go visit them, and they're in his state, I want you around the country to understand why we need to expose what he's doing. He cannot get a pass. He cannot get a pass, and we just say it's all Trump, it's all Trump. Somebody explained it last time, Trump may be the criminal on something, but McConnell's been the getaway driver for a long time. 2 Ps. And now, Mickey, thank you, man. And I know we're organizing together. I didn't tell you this before. Guess what county my father's from and I was raised in? Martin County. Did you hear that? I'm from Martin County, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right. So you got Martin, but then you got Harlan County, Kentucky. So that's my point. We are connected in ways we don't realize, and that's the great fear of the power structure. They want us to think we're weak, but the reality is that we get together, we have tremendous power. Now, Now, thank you all. We know we got to run to the next because we only have an hour, but man, you know, we're together, forward together, not one step back. Rob, I'm getting ready to mess with. Love you, man. Love you, Lynn. Love you. Rob, I'm getting ready to mess with you a little bit. We got a song, Nick, because when we do music, we do it for every part of our movement. And so we had this brother, he just sent something in and it's got a banjo to it. I'm gonna come back to Tana and Pam, y'all can just give a shout out. But can we pull that piece up? Can we pull that piece up and just kick it right in here? Yeah.
Let's play the U.S. Postal Service by Joe Troop.
This is brand new. He just did it.
Actually, he did it in April. He was prophetic. He knew
he did it in April. Okay. All right. Did it in April. Thank you, Rob.
I'm waiting by the mailbox. They say a check is coming soon. $100 ease the pain and pay a bill or two. But no raid will come my way unless I take a stand. The U.S. Postal Service darling needs a helping hand. Oh, won't you heed this message? Won't you hear my mournful cry? It's hard to keep your wits about with all this death and dying. But harder times will come our way, on this you can't rely. Unless we learn to not be fooled by all critical lies. Our government is doing a disservice to us all. To not deliver us the mail should be against the law. So many men and women out risking their poor lives, delivering goods to our front doors despite these troubled times. They make the rounds to bring us mail, they will come rain or shine. And now it seems the government is leaving them behind. I too have lost my livelihood, I'm struggling day by day. Uncle Sam won't bail me out while poor crooks are safe. In times like these, it's fair to say we'll need new ways to hope. But if the Postal Service dies, my friends, that's all she wrote. We're well aware of what's to come and choose to do us wrong. If the U.S. Postal Service dies, our right to vote is gone. It's time for us to make demands before it is too late. So pull upon the U.S. Postal Service for God's sake.
My brother, that was a prophetic song, Rob. You said it was done actually in April. Listen, I want to come back to Tana and Pam, but to close it out in some way. But we got two great guests, two friends, two people. And the first one is Mary Kay Henry. She's going to take just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to go straight to our special guest, the Reverend Jessie Jackson. And we have something we want to do too for him. It's a surprise. He doesn't know we're going to do it, but it'll be a good surprise, Reverend. But Mary Kay Henry is on every Wednesday. We do Walkout Wednesday. We've been doing it for weeks now, ever since, even before all the post office, letting poor and low income workers, SEIU, home care workers, maids and janitors who've been walking out and telling their truth and organizing. And I invited her to come on, and she's on today with Sarah. And I tell you, you can trust Mary Kay is a real warrior. She's a fighter. She was there with Fight 15 when other people said it didn't even make sense. And I just thank God for her. As she's working in so many ways. And you can trust this sister in a room. You don't have to wonder about if you get in the room in a fight where she's gonna go. You know, she tell you she's with you, she's with you. If she tell you she's not, but you don't have to wonder from time to time. So Mary Kay, thank you so much for joining us on the National Moral Monday March on McConnell and challenging his mayhem, his misery, and his meanness. And Sarah, where are you? Are you on with us? And so I'll let you handle it from here, Mary Kay.
Thank you so much, Reverend Barber and Reverend Liz Theoharis. We are proud to stand with the Poor People's Campaign and National Call for a Moral Revival. And we are delighted to be in such great company today because we agree there has to be a Moral Monday March on McConnell, his meanness, towards everyone in this country, the mayhem he's trying to create that's going to distract us from saving the post office and making sure we turn out to vote, and the misery that he's inflicting on all working people and poor people and low-income communities by not taking action and doing his job in passing the HEROES Act. And that's why I'm so proud to be joined by Sarah Farrington. She's a leader in Raise Up North Carolina from the Fight for 15. And we wanted to share Sarah's story because she's speaking, as you know, for millions of working people earning less than $15 an hour, trying to stitch together a living, while McConnell sits on his hand and doesn't take action, which is morally bankrupt and totally wrong. And we're going to keep mobilizing, as Reverend Liz told us to. We're going to organize the vote, and we're going to keep marching with each one of you until we make this country the country that our children deserve. Sarah.
And Mary Kay, just before Sarah comes, you said something. If he was really concerned about America, putting aside all this partisan stuff, he could join with Pelosi and they could shut all this down. They could shut everything.
Yes, he could.
If they came together for the soul of the country, but instead he chooses. That's why we cannot let him be separated from Trump. Talk about one, you got to talk about the other. Sarah.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
All right, all right.
Thank you so much for having me today. So I just want to, say a few things. And again, thank you so much. So my name is Sarah Farrington again, and I'm a leader here with NC Raise Up, Fight for 15 in a union in Durham. So during this pandemic, I worked as a server with Waffle House, making only $3.10 an hour plus tips. But like so many essential workers, I never had sick days. I never had any hazard pay. I never had any health care. And I've never had a chance to join a union with my workers. My hours were drastically cut from Waffle House during this pandemic. I went from 42 to 72 hours to 1 day a week to nothing. So now I rely on a small unemployment check, $170 a week, to sit here and be able to take care of my rent, my water, my bills, my 6 children, and my other children who are also out of work. So I have a big financial strain on me, but they don't care, So now I rely on that. And through all this, we're still working to come together and work with power. I've also been homeless before. And when I was homeless, I was working full time with Waffle House at the same time. Managed to pull myself out of homelessness. And now I'm trying to fight not to go back into it, like everybody else in the world, in this country that's going through this. So especially here in the South, we need to keep demanding our union rights for all workers. Forming unions is how we're going to be able to build the power and be able to confront the systemic racism that's going on and make our jobs and our communities better in the long term. You got to be with the community, a part of the community, for the community to build it. So we need to keep organizing and going on strike. But millions of essential workers are newly unemployed workers. We need help right now. But millions of essential workers aren't getting it. So we need the Senate to go ahead and pass this HEROES Act now. We need the HEROES Act to include paid sick days, hazard pay, proper PPE, extend the unemployment for workers who need it. We need it. It's not that we want to have a handout. We need some help, and it's their jobs to do so. So I'm speaking for millions of people that I love, families that I know and I don't know. Get together, organize, keep fighting. We need the HEROES Act to be passed now.
That's right. And we know that McConnell said he was the Grim Reaper. We've got that tape. We'll play it out to Reverend Jackson, where he literally said, I am the Grim Reaper. I will stop if I'm the last man standing. And he is living out his own name. He renamed himself. Maybe he didn't like his mom and dad is what they named it. So he named himself the Grim Reaper, and he's living out that name. And we have to challenge that Grim Reaper. We have to challenge, and we have to have massive engagement. We have to shut down these phones as a sign that we're not going anywhere. We have to register to vote. Voting mass, and know that poor and low wealth people hold the power. Working people, poor and low wealth people hold the power. We've done the data. The data is clear. You don't even need 20% increase in poor and low income people. 19%, no more than 19% in any state. In most states, anywhere from 1 to 10%. The data is there. You expand the electorate, we win. You expand the issues, we win. You expand the consciousness of the people. We win. The power is with us. So today, when you're calling in, we don't want just to call in. We do want you to do that, but then call others and begin to mobilize and organize and register to vote and get people out and say, nobody is going to stop us. We learn, as I introduced Reverend Jackson, one of the things we learned from Reverend and from others, and Dr. King and others, is about fighting, is that you fight for what's right before the election day, you fight on the election day, and you fight after the election day. Because what you do know is if you don't fight, you'll never win. But everything we've ever fought for, we have won. So we asked Reverend Jackson to come on and I want to frame a couple of questions and let him talk for a while. Is number one, we keep hearing, even today, Trump was up talking about, before COVID, everything was fine. And COVID happened and then things are just terrible. And I know Reverend can unpack that for us and say that's not the truth. Somebody said the pandemic has simply exposed the pandemonic. That's what one of the preachers said. You know what I mean, Reverend? Let's stop playing. And then the second thing is this whole post office business and this whole business of voting and why they're so afraid. Reverend, you called it a long time ago, the rainbow. Why are they so afraid of this moral fusion coalition? But why is it if they're that afraid, we have to keep building it and know that that is where the power is in this country. Reverend Jackson, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Brother Barber, you and Liz, we thank you and love you so much. I wish Dr. King were here to just watch you and Liz do your thing. I was with Dr. King his last staff meeting. He said we have public accommodation, we have the right to vote. We don't have poverty, too many working poor people. His last year was the Poor People's Campaign. So I went to Memphis. He's going to Washington. He was to jail top traffic about putting the folks on poor people in the war in Vietnam, war on poverty at home, a major shift. I want to thank Mary Kay. There's nobody like Mary Kay. There's no other person like Mary Kay in the whole union movement. Mary, we thank you and we love you so much. My friend, let me tell you about Kentucky. The working poor people of Kentucky, we're not the bottom, you're the foundation. The bottom is where you end up. The foundation is where you start from. A coal mine dies in Kentucky every 6 hours of black lung disease today. The coal miners and the steel workers, the chemical workers are from Kentucky. When the foundation shifts, everything is just. Bob, if you would live in a 20-story penthouse building, a strong wind came along, those in the penthouse would be upset. But the foundation, everybody would be upset. We're the foundation. When we change our minds, the whole world changes. Kentucky's not about horse and treasure down, it's about working poor people. I was talking with some of my friends in Kentucky last year. I said, Reverend, I'm really with you, but I'm with I'm not with Obamacare. If you want Obamacare, don't want Obamacare, only but don't want the eggs. Don't be fooled by McConnell's foolishness. We have the power to change our minds. Change our minds, the whole world changes. What I love about Lyndon Johnson, he opened up the Poor People's Campaign in University of Ohio in Athens, Ohio, right down to Appalachia for 2 days. By the way, Bob, the first integrated union was the mine workers in Kentucky.
That's right.
People living in script, using script as opposed to money, as Liz said a while ago. They wouldn't let them play black against white, against German, against Jew. They came together. When Kentucky plays the big basketball game, what makes Kentucky so strong, whenever the playing field is even, the rules are public, goals are clear, records are fast score transfer, we can make it. We can make it. If we change our minds, we change Kentucky. The hardest working poor white people in America live in Kentucky. I say you did, my friends, let's fight back. You vote your hope and not your fears, just vote. By the way, in 1965, when democracy didn't start in Philadelphia, it started in Selma, Alabama. And Philadelphia, only white male landowners could vote. In Selma, blacks to vote for the first time. White women could serve on Jersey and South for the first time. 18-year-olds could vote for the first time, vote on college campuses for the first time. Native Americans could vote by label. When we changed, it said that the new majority, we are the new majority as a coalition, red, yellow, brown, black, and white. You got three options when you're back against the wall. You can either adjust, resent, and be angry, or you can resist. We shall not adjust our situation. We should not merely resent, but we shall resist and we shall fight back. We fight back. We've never lost a battle we fought. There wasn't a battle unless we fought. So I say it's fighting time. a scripture that has meaning to me, Barber, is healing. If my people will call by my name, will humble themselves and pray, and turn from their wicked ways. To submit to tyranny is wicked and it's weak. If we humble ourselves and pray, God will hear our prayers, heal our land. Kentucky can win this. Brother Book almost won the Senate seat nomination in Kentucky. The more white people are coming to themselves in Kentucky. We cannot let McConnell, and McConnell is against the post office being fair, and Rand Paul is the only senator that's blocking the lynching bill. Why is Rand Paul against the lynching bill and McConnell against work for poor people and wages and treating non-taxes? We must do better. If my people will come over and pray and seek my face, God will heal. It's healing time, Bob.
That's right.
Healing time. If we vote, our hopes and our fears are healing, and we fight, we'll win. Love you guys so much. I wish Dr. King were here. In this day today. Love you guys.
Well, Reverend Jackson, man, we love you too. And you're so right. One wants to block the lynching bill, and then the other wants to block the lynchers with economic injustice. And we've been saying a long time, if you're going to talk about death right now, you have to talk about the death of a George Floyd and Tawana and all of them, the death that comes from police that use their power wrongly, the power that we give them. But you also have to look at the death measurement and all of these other wicked public policies. You block healthcare, people die. When you block living wages, people die. When you don't take care of union workers and coal miners and steel workers, people
A coal
die.
miner dies every 6 hours today.
You hear that?
That's right. A coal miner today.
Today.
Before that was a pandemic. That was coal miners dying. But we fight back. And so you shouldn't be working in unsecured mines where you suck up that coal dust. You deserve better. You're God's child.
That's right.
You deserve better. You must know you're somebody. You're God's child.
That's right.
And that makes a whole world of difference.
That's right. And we've said, Reverend, I'm going to play something now that's a surprise to you. We've also said that before COVID, 700 people were dying a day from poverty and low wealth. Every one of us ought to say in their name, in the name of the martyrs who have died because of the hurtful economic policy, we're going to fight back. We're going to win. We're going to change this country. We're going to push into a third reconstruction. It is something we have to do to even honor those that have gone on before us. But Reverend Jackson, you said some things in '84 that are as relevant today as they were then. In fact, sometimes we wish people would have these same words and would understand them. And so kind of as a surprise to you, because, I was there, I was a senior in college, and I remember watching this speech that night, the entire speech that night. And I wanted America to be reminded, people to be reminded of what you laid out then and how it is so necessary that we hear these same marching orders today. Roll tape if you would.
We're often reminded that we live in a great nation, and we do, but it can be greater still. The rainbow is mandating a new definition of greatness. We must not measure greatness from the mansion down, but the manger up. Jesus said that we should not be judged by the bark we wear, but by the fruit that we bear. Jesus said that we must measure greatness by how we treat the least of these. President Reagan says the nation is in recovery. Those 90,000 corporations that made a profit last year but paid no federal taxes are recovering. The 37,000 military contractors who have benefited from Reagan's more than doubling the military budget in peacetime, surely they are recovering. The big corporations and rich individuals who received the bulk of the 3-year multi-billion tax cuts from Mr. Reagan are recovering. But no such recovery is underway for the least of these. Rising tides don't lift all boats, particularly those stuck at the bottom. For the boats stuck at the bottom, there's a misery index. This administration has made life more miserable for the poor. Its attitude has been contemptuous. Its policies and programs have been cruel and unfair to working people. They must be held accountable in November for increasing infant mortality among the poor. In Detroit, one of the great cities of the Western world, babies are dying at the same rate as Honduras, the most undeveloped nation in our hemisphere. This administration must be held accountable for policies that contribute to growing poverty in America. There are now 34 million people in poverty, 15% of our nation, 23 million are white, 11 million black, Hispanic, Asian, and others, mostly women and children. By the end of this year, there will be 41 million people in poverty. We cannot stand idly by. We must fight for change now.
And I dare say,
wow,
if we walk away, Dr. Jackson, from this neoliberalism and we recapture that spirit, you know, they didn't follow that after the convention like you called for, but if we follow that, even today, there's something happening in this country and we can bring people together. And now even the demographics show us what we've always known, but even more so, that poor and low income people hooked with their moral allies, their labor allies, can fundamentally shift, but they have to hear the message.
We're not the bottom, we're the foundation.
The foundation, that's right.
And the foundation, everything, when we move, Pharaoh's army cannot grow its cotton. When we move Red Seas, we move, great things always come out. I love you so much, Barber, you and Liz.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. Thank you so much, Reverend Jackson. Aren't y'all glad he was able to join us?
Thank you.
So I wanna, amen, Liz.
Barber.
Yeah,
Rainbow Push. We need your support, rainbowpush.org.
You all hear that? Rainbowpush.org.
We need your support.
That's right.
We're going to keep on working. We're going to win this battle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reverend was with us from the beginning, y'all, with the Poor People's Campaign. He said, I'm going to be there so that folk will know it's connected to what was and what's going to be. Tana, where are you? And Pam, thank you so much, Reverend Jackson.
Thank you.
Bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Love you. Tana, respond right quickly from Kentucky. Is she still on or Pam? Okay, Pam and Tana. Well, whoever it is, I'm
We got Pam.
Yeah. I'm still stuck on that. We have to fight that 84. I was, how old was I then? 63, 73, 73, 83. I was 21 years old when I heard that speech. I hadn't even graduated from college. And it's amazing that those words still now, that's the blueprint, y'all. And if you go back to Dr. King, if you go back to the prophets, it's really about us continuing to say to America, why don't you finally listen? But if they don't listen, we got to make them listen because we are the foundation and we can shift the direction of this nation. Pam, talk to us a little bit about why people need to be calling today, why we need to raise this fight with McConnell and why we can't give up. You're one of the tri-chairs there in Kentucky.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Barber and Reverend Liz. And those were very moving words and inspiring words. The whole hour we've been on today from everybody and from Reverend Jackson as well. I was taken back to, I marched with Reverend Jackson 20 miles over 2 days outside of Atlanta, Georgia once. And so just that message I was paying attention to those numbers of how many people were poor and low income and in poverty and comparing those to the numbers today. And we appreciate the Poor People's Campaign or being part of the Poor People's Campaign, this light that's being shown on Kentucky. We welcome the solidarity from across the country. We need people to call in. Mayhem, meanness, and misery is the three right M words for McConnell's policies that are hurting us. And that message of how he is suppressing the vote, sabotaging the post office, and stopping the stimulus, we're echoing across the state. So call that number on your screen. Let him know. We've got one senator saying, you mentioned the lynching, the anti-lynching bill that he's stopping, and he's saying that the post office should only be there for rural people. We've got another senator doing already laid out. So call, stay tuned, call again. And Kentucky's requests for the absentee ballot that opened today. So Kentuckians can start requesting their absentee ballot today to vote in this general election. Thank you, Reverend Barber and Reverend Liz, and everybody.
Thank you so much, Pam. And we're gonna have links next time too, as we continue to move. Where I think we still have it, Rob, where people can register to vote even here, or they can click on and go. And we have the link that people can go to. This is a full service, one-stop service site. And we want you to push out. And if you call in today, then call 10 other people and tell them you called in. Make sure they're registered to vote. Let's move this piece. And in a real sense, we're not even voting for this time for personality. We're voting for deep principles. We're voting for change. We're voting to say we're going to be in the battle at the ballot box. We're going to also be in the battle after the ballot box. And it has to be that way, because change is right at our fingertips. It's so possible. We have to make sure people understand that you're not going to ignore us. I think on next week, I want to ask Liz to riff for about 3 minutes on how pestilences often are the sign of fundamental transformation. We won't do that this time, but I think we're going to make that happen next time. Now, look, we got Reverend Kaz, who's our new national field director for religious affairs on. We got that bad sister from Mississippi. Y'all see her with those glasses on, looking like Eartha Kitt. She's down there in Mississippi. Danielle Holmes, you don't mess with Danielle. I'm telling you right now that the Mississippi folk are on it. I want each of them to take a minute and a half and just say what you need to say to America about McConnell. You're from different states, but he's impacting us. And shout out the people that you know why they need to be calling today, engaging tomorrow, and voting in the days to come. Talk to us.
Yes, so what's happening in one state affects us all. We know it is not just one state that's their issue and another state that's their issue. No, we are one body, folks, and we have to band together. If we cannot vote, see, and that's the trickery here. So when they say, oh, a couple mailboxes are taken away, a couple of machines have been shut down. No, don't let them fool you. That is going to impact us here, because if we cannot vote by mail, where do our ballots go? If we're in a pandemic and we can't go out, how are we casting our vote? And we see it. We're not just dealing with one pandemic of COVID. We've been dealing with the pandemics and the pandemonics. Here in California, we're dealing with wildfires throughout the whole entire state. I've been sitting in the house, not only because of stay-at-home orders, but because the air quality is so bad, we can't go out. We are seeing that. That's why we have in Poor People's Campaign is not just one issue. That's why, ecological devastation impacts, systemic racism, which impacts poverty, which impacts the militarism, which impacts the false moral narrative of religious nationalism. It's all connected, and we need to see these interconnections and band together and vote not just who we need, but we need to vote what we need. And what we need is a policy platform for the people. And that's why our Jubilee policy platform is for the people, and we're going to push it forward.
That's right, Reverend. That's right. That's our new national director for religious affairs, the Reverend Dr. Danielle Holmes. Excuse me. I like to tease Danielle, but she is my sister. I love her. Thank God. Come on, talk to us, Danielle.
Yes, I'm Danielle Holmes out of Mississippi, where we're living in the belly of the beast. And today, as we see what's playing out in this country, we know that Mississippi is really directly impacted by what's going on. And as I call it, this U.S. sanctioned violence and U.S. sanctioned murders that are taking place during this pandemic. We have to demand that it stopped. Where this country is today shouldn't be. And so you have 505,682,491 million cases of coronavirus. You have 176,233 corona cases here in the country. The county that I'm from, in Leaflore County here in Mississippi alone, has hit as the hotspot, which is the neighbor county to Holmes County, which is the poorest county in the country. And so when you talk about mail-in ballots and not having access to be able to mail in ballots, this will affect the whole Mississippi Delta, which is rural.
Yeah. Go ahead. I just hollered. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It would impact the whole Mississippi Delta, which consists of 82 counties. But beyond the Mississippi Delta, there are other rural areas. One county being Fayette County, who was intentionally or just inadvertently, however you want to call it, omitted from the census counting 2010, a whole county that wasn't even counted, but they relied on the post office and mail-in ballots for this election. And so I'm almost really kind of lost for words, because we've been fighting our butts off in Mississippi.
That's right.
And we've taken this fight to the governor's home, and we're determined wherever he lay his head, that's where we're going. The same goes for Senator Roger Wicker. The same goes for Senator Cindy Hyde out of Mississippi.
That's right.
These two are on the side of McConnell and the Trump administration foolishness, and we refuse to remain silent here in Mississippi. So we're taking the heat to them. We're taking the Bible to them. Since they claim to be Christians, we want to know, and we have pastors that are ready to dissect that word for them on what a Christian really actually is, and what displays characteristics of love that a Christian displays in this country. And so here we are in Mississippi, here we are in this country in the South. If we can flip the South, we can change this country. And this is our goal here in Mississippi and all across the South and across this country. We must demand a change, and we must demand it right now.
And Danielle, I want you to say a word on this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Rob. We're gonna give people some closing. Right, actually, Mary Kay is still on. I want her, because we always do this on Walkout Wednesday. But listen, you mentioned your two senators. Now I'm gonna mess with you a little bit. Your senators are terrible.
Yes, they are.
In terms of policy, but they ain't as bad as McConnell. And this is the reason, listen to me now, because they don't have the power that he has. Because he is the only one that can hold bills. And we're trying to educate society about this. So should Mississippians be calling in to McConnell, even if they don't live in Kentucky? Should people in the South be jamming his phone lines? Should they be challenging him because of the power he has as a senator? People sometimes are tweeting or texting back and putting in the chat, but it's all of them. And we are clear, we know it's all of them, but it's one of them that has the power to put a bill in a desk drawer and close it and then never be able to be discussed. In fact, today is the 2,617th day. 2,617th day. Let me say that one more time. 2,617th day. Now we talk about it's been over 80 days since he's refused to pass a bill. And we don't even agree with all of the heroes bill. We think it should be more expansive, but he blocked that. But for 2,617 days, McConnell alone, and this grows out of the power that was given certain officers as compromises to the South during slavery. The majority leader alone has blocked bringing up the Voting Rights Act to be fixed. That covers all of those states that Danielle was just talking about. 2,617 days, am I right? 2,617 days today. I want folk to hear that around the country. One man, right? That is why we cannot let him off the hook. That is why you can never talk about Trump and not talk about McConnell. That is why we have to call it out. That's why we have to call him. That's why we have to call people to be engaged. 2,600. And what else is in there? Because he said he was the Grim Reaper. He says when anything comes along, if he doesn't like it and it's going to help coal miners, if he doesn't like it, if it's going to help unions, if he doesn't like it, you pass it in the House. He puts it in a drawer, and he has singular power to hold it there and never bring it to the floor. That is why we must challenge McConnell's mayhem, meanness, and madness. Mary Kay, I know you're still.
Everybody in Mississippi should be calling McConnell's office. Everything McConnell actions are directly impacting those in Mississippi, from unemployment, from the attacks on the post office, from folks being evicted, you name it, Mississippians are being gravely impacted. And yes, we should be after McConnell, and we make it known that we are going after McConnell.
That's right.
As well.
All over the South, all over the South. Mary Kay, I want you to take this 2 minutes and take us out of here. You know, we've been in these trenches. We keep hope alive. You always ask that on Wednesdays, what gives you hope? And we know hope is not like spurious, it's not sentimentality. James Baldwin said sentimentality is the mask that often covers up cruelty. But the kind of hope we're talking about is the hope that looks right at despair, goes right through it, goes right at it, refuses to back up from it. and never stops because we know that the despair is not supposed to be. And therefore, as long as we live, we're not going to be satisfied with it. Talk to us today about where you are, Mary Kay, and what message you would have, to all of us across the country. And then if you take about 2 minutes, Rob, it's in your hand. This has been the National Moral Monday March on Mitch McConnell, his mayhem, his misery, and his meanness. We're not marching because we're weak, y'all. We're not mobilizing because we're weak. We're mobilizing because we got power. And we intend to get up. We're not just woke, but we're going to rise and use that power. My dear sister, Mary Kay Henry.
Thank you so much, my brother, Reverend William Barber, and Reverend Liz Theoharis, for pulling us together and creating this Moral Monday March on McConnell and Trump to do the right thing. What gives me hope is the fearlessness and courage of people that are watching us all today and are picking up the phone and taking action. What gives me hope is Sarah Farrington, willing as a mother of 3 to be active in the fight for 15 year after year after year, and never giving up hope that McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King are going to set a national bargaining table and end poverty wage work in fast food once and for all. Those employers have enough money. They can invest in the workers in every restaurant, including Waffle House. What gives me hope is Mickey and Nina McCoy, who challenge the power in Kentucky and make clear that they aren't standing for taxation without representation. You and Liz Theoharis give me hope in creating an intersectional movement that isn't going to make one justice fight more important than another. We're going to unite our fights and hold out a vision that we have the power greater than the powers against us. To make a just and fair world once and for all in our lifetime. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And always, Liz, thank you for being the co-chair, for being the co-partner in making trouble. Thank all of you all. We love you. And like we say, we talk like it's supposed to be on Moral Mondays, on Mitch McConnell. This is where we're real. This is where we're focused. This is where we're clear. We also want you to join in Walkout Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, you can go to our site and you can click and it'll show you how to get to that on Wednesday. The one thing we are not going to do, and America better be clear, we are the sons and daughters of those who have fought and won before. Our fight for justice is non-negotiable. And if you thought that we were going to turn back now, then you have another thought coming, because it ain't happening. It ain't happening. We have too much power, too much potential, too many prayers, too much blood, too much suffering has already been done. And now it's time for this third reconstruction and major transformation. And it's going to happen. It's going to begin to happen in major ways on our watch. Rob, it's yours now. I know I'm 3 minutes over, but you got it as we leave here today. God bless you.
Great. Thank you, Reverend Barber. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Just an amazing set of inspirations and stories and testimonies. I hope folks heard what Reverend Jackson said, that there's nobody like President Mary Kay Henry in the union movement or in the movement writ large. And so we thank you for joining us, and Sarah for being with us as you've been for years now. And we went from the Delta to East Kentucky to California. To wherever else the rest of you are. I don't know where you are, but it was a beautiful thing to see. I hope people also heard Reverend Jackson when he said we have 3 choices in moments like this, that we can adjust, we can resent, or we can resist. And we certainly aren't going to adjust to what's happening in this nation. And we don't have time. We're too busy to resent all the time. So the last thing we're left with is to resist. And so we thank God for the opportunity that we've been given to see each other each week. Please come. We'll be back again next week on August 31st. I've been told that we might have a break after that, just so that we can recharge for a massive Moral Monday that we're planning on September 14th at 7 p.m. We'll go to the evening for September 14th for a massive Voting is Power Unleashed program, where we'll get some really powerful insight and teach-ins on the voting campaign that we're doing right now, the More campaign. And then we'll come back on September 21st. And Pam, I think, is it all right to say what I'm about to say?
Sure.
that that on the 21st, the Kentucky Poor People's Campaign is planning on some car caravan protests to each of Mitch McConnell's 5 offices that he has in Kentucky. And six of them. Okay, so he still has 6 offices that are going when people are being evicted from their homes across the nation. But he's going to get a visit from the Poor People's Campaign then, and so we'll get some live shots on September 21st. So we know that consistency is key and discipline in this movement. So we're going to keep on hacking away at this and keep on with our target. And we thank everyone that has come in each week and made those calls. Again, if you just go to that link, you'll get a phone call from our service, and it'll connect you to Mitch McConnell's office. We've been shutting them down a lot, and so we know that you might get a busy signal, but keep on going and keep on going all week. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. And with that, we're going to close out with, unless Reverend Liz, do you have anything you want to add? Tell us something, Reverend Liz.
Together.
Forward together. All right. So we're going to leave out with everybody's got a right to live.